Well, time for a little update. Hasn't been one in a little bit because haven't had a lot to show. A lot of the stuff was been dealing with tuning issues and stuff that you're just not going to see. So didn't really put anything out until had something still dealing with some of that stuff. But a few things have happened. So just thought I'd give a real quick update on kind of a few things that have happened since the last time. We're still fighting with some tuning issues, but did find a couple issues to do with the fuel rails, or not the fuel rails per se, but the lines going into the fuel rails had, I think, ended up having some issues, and from the regulator up to there. I switched over from the stock style setup which you wouldn't be able to see, but back there, basically the fuel came in up here from the regulator, came in up here, and then went back, and then there was a crossover tube back behind there that fed the other rail. And the tuner gentleman that I've been working with said that was fine for probably the lower horsepower, but the high horsepower that I was looking at, he said because it's crossing over, it may or may not have some issues he had seen, where sometimes when you get really into the high horsepower stuff, that the pressure is not equal between the two of them, and one bank can run a little bit leaner than the other. And since we were having issues, what I ended up doing was ordering some new line, which you can't really see very well, but this was like a steel braided line before, and it looks like when I was looking, a lot of the new stuff looks like it's the PFE stuff, so I ended up just getting rid of that one and ordering a brand new one. So you can kind of see it comes out over here. And basically what I did is I switched to a little bit of a Y setup. So now it comes up here, splits into the Y, and then feeds both rails simultaneously. So there is no more crossover anymore, as you can see up here. And I just basically capped that off right there. So now both lines are being fed at the same time. This hose is a little short, I think, because it's pretty tight up against here and whatnot. So I think, if I get it running and stuff, maybe this winter do a few things, probably get one that's a few inches longer so that it can kind of come back down, back over here, and back down here, and then kind of come out. So it's not so tight up against the back of the supercharger there. I also did take the injectors over to a local place, over to Badger Tuning, and he tested them. And interesting enough, since they are brand new and the car really hasn't been run that much, I don't know if it was because it sat over in the body shop when he did the fender flares and maybe got some dust or something inside of them, but two of them were really not good. A third one was kind of marginal, but there was definitely a significant difference in the amount of output from at least two of them and possibly a third one. So he did a cleaning and tested them like 10 different times, cleaned them, retested them, cleaned them, retested them, and got him to the point where he's ended up having some problems with his machine. But right before he had problems with his machine, they were starting to flow pretty close to each other. Not exact, but pretty close to each other, so that was definitely a good sign. I did also find in the fuel rails that one of the little screens where it sits on top of the injector there to catch anything had kind of popped out, so it was kind of floating around in there. The other thing is that I ended up having problems with the fuel pressure sensor. This is now like the third one. It's kind of weird. I had the original, which I had problems with, so I got one from O'Reilly's, put in there, and when I was having problems, I took it out, and when I lifted it out, the bottom part of it, like where the O-ring is and stuff like that, just kind of like fell off. And I tried to put it back together, but it didn't quite sit right. And during that process, one of the O-rings, that O-ring and that little bottom piece had kind of fallen down inside and was kind of floating around there, so it may have been creating a little bit of a stoppage. So I ended up taking it back. They had a lifetime warranty on it, and so they replaced it. This time he said that wouldn't be a problem. He said if you keep having to replace it, they might question, is it the part failing or is it something in your setup that's causing it to fail? But he goes, at the very least for the first time, he goes, we won't have a problem and we'll get that replaced. So I did that, and now things seem to be more stabilized with the fuel anyways. We're not having those kind of weird issues so much with the fuel and that cut and the cut anymore. Per se, now thing in the injector side to side and between the two banks seems to be stabilized. A little bit of difference, but much better than like the 20% difference there was before between the two banks. So that definitely seemed to help. So took care of all that. And a couple of the errors I was getting in the computer was I found out when, because this was damaged in the accident, the ABS system was, so I replaced that, and Ford, in their infinite wisdom, seems to tie the VIN serial number to the ABS module and some other modules. So when I put the other one in, it was causing an advanced service advanced track error, because of course it knew, hey, this module, because the VIN number is different, doesn't belong to this vehicle. So I tried to do it with a scan tool, but I couldn't do it. So I ended up figuring out that the ForScan tool that I have gave me the ability to, since I still happen to have the old one, which was good, gave me the ability to back up the configuration of the old one, then put this one in and restore it. So then I was able to make the computer think that this was the original one, and so then it's not giving that advanced service track anymore, and I can turn the traction control button, actually works now and turns it on and off. I'm still trying to get the airbags were deployed, obviously, in the accident. I've replaced the airbags, the airbags from the 07, but the airbag service light is still excuse me, the airbag light is still on. I tried to use that tool to reset it that I borrowed from a friend of mine, but his service contract is expired on that tablet, and he doesn't really do much with Ford. So when I tried to download Ford for the airbag reset, it did not work because his contract had expired. So I'll have to see still about getting that reset. But the service track didn't seem to make any difference. Unfortunately, I didn't think it would, but I thought, well, we'll just get that eliminated. I was also getting a front speed sensor error on this one. I replaced it, still getting it. Again, the car really hasn't been driven, so that may go away once I drive it. In that process, I was also getting some P codes for misfires on bank 3 and 4. So again, could have been something else, but just to be on the safe side, I ordered 2 new coils for 3 and 4 and replaced those. So I have brand new coils in it. I did also replace all 8 spark plugs, as we were, had ridge issues and all these kind of issues. They were, kind of fouled looking, kind of black on them from, all the stuff we'd been messing with. So I re-put in all 8 new spark plugs. So now seem to be a little bit better. We're just trying to kind of get it leaned out and get it stabilized. It kind of will go lean and then it will go rich and kind of back and forth a little bit without changing the tune, so it's kind of odd. But I did read that one of the guys in the HP Tuner Farms was talking about, with such large injectors that I have in here, it is a little bit hard to get it to idle properly and at some low RPMs. So I may be chasing my tail a little bit in that aspect, that there may not be as big of a problem as I think there is. And when I actually get out and drive it, I may see the numbers stabilize, just not at lower RPMs. So that, I'm trying to think, what else did we have? All that is good. Seems like there was something else. Drawing a blank right now. But like I said, lots of little stuff. Kind of still fighting with the tune a little bit. Oh, can't remember if it was in the last video or not, but I did swap out the computer. And I used that ForScan tool to basically do the same thing, back up the settings, this VIN number and everything in the old computer, and put the new one in and reflashed it or redid it. And again, things seem to be better with that. So not sure necessarily if that helped, but it could be, like I said, a lot of these little things could be adding up to one bigger thing. So I still happen to have the old computer in case it turns out not to be that. I can always try and sell it or something, but I still do have the old computer. And now it's just trying to get it to run. One of the things that the tuner wanted me to try and do when he was been helping me is, he said, well, we should probably do a crankshaft position sensor relearn. And I said, I knew that we would need to. I was just kind of waiting for the car to stabilize a little bit. He goes, well, let's try it. And it's not working in HP Tuner. It says it's okay, but I'm getting a P code error that says it hasn't relearned it. So I tried with my tablet, my Altel tool, but right now we're having some problems when it comes off kind of a high idle, or comes a high RPM I should say, and drops down. It's not catching itself very well. It kind of wants to drop to 500 or 300, and then it'll kind of catch itself and bring itself back up. And the Alto tool isn't liking it when it drops to 350 or below. Even though it catches itself for a second, it doesn't like that, and so therefore it keeps saying that that crank shaft position sensor relearn is failed. So you need to get it to catch itself better. It should be running about 850, and it's just not. Even maybe 500 or 600 might be okay, not the best, but it'd probably be okay to catch itself at that. But it's not wanting to. It keeps. Sometimes it catches itself, sometimes it drops down. So we're still trying to deal with that and get that taken care of. Interesting enough, and we'll see once we get the crank shaft position sensor relearned, I'll have it idling, because it does now idle mostly by itself, and it does mostly start by itself, so those are improvements. And I can have you guys hear it idle. Interesting enough, it does have some chop to it, which I didn't think it would. A lot of people say the mod motors, even with cams, won't chop, but this does have some pretty good lope or chop to it. So interesting enough, if that is because of the crank shaft position sensor is a little bit out of alignment, or if that is the cams. But once we get that done, I'll probably start it and let it idle and have you guys hear it, so hear the loping pretty good of it. But this was going to be a short video, and it looks like it's over 11 minutes now, so sorry about that. But I just wanted to let you guys know where I was at. Like I said, not a lot of things to see, mostly informational and kind of catching up as far as that goes. But hopefully getting very, very close, I hope, to be driving it very soon. It's killing me not to be driving it, but I'm hoping we're very close. But thanks for watching, and bye.